This is Mark Taylor from eSales Hub. Welcome to our video.
The great thing about Google is they often tell you what you shouldn't be doing, but they don't always tell you what to do. And to be fair, you can't blame them, because if everybody did everything correctly, how would number one outrank number two and vice versa? So they're not exactly going to give you the playbook of exactly how to rank for certain key terms, but what they are going to do is they're going to give you pointers in terms of what you should and shouldn't be doing. So one of the things about duplicate content is if you're producing location pages, because your local search strategy dictates that you need to create a page per conurbation that you cover, you're going to be generating a lot of content. Now the worry that we have with some people is, oh, hang on a second, lots and lots of location pages, am I going to get a duplicate content penalty from Google for that? Well, I've got 3 bits of information to share with you today that actually blow out the water that there isn't a duplicate content penalty from Google. And it's been very, very misunderstood. So, dating back to the 12th of September 2008, even before eSales Hub began, you've got a Google Webmaster Central blog here where they actually particularly put to bed the rumor that there is a duplicate content penalty. So, if you read here, let's put this to bed once and for all, folks. There's no such things as duplicate content penalty, at least not in the way most people mean when they say that. That is Google officially telling you there is no duplicate content penalty. Now, it does go on to say that if you're scraping content at no value, yeah, that's not going to rank. But that in itself is not a penalty. The page just isn't going to rank. And I think that's one of the things that some people sometimes forget is it's not a penalty, it's just your content's just not going to rank. That's not a penalty in itself, it's just not going to rank. But what they also went on to later on is in a video, and one of the guys I'd really recommend that you follow is a guy called John Mueller on Twitter. He shares a lot of valuable information. He often does these Google Hangouts. And as you can see from the video that I'm going to show you, this is dating back to 2014, is the conversation around duplicate content keeps coming up. Why are my pages not ranking? Is it because of duplicate penalty? And when you're looking at local search, if you're producing lots of pages, what does that mean? Am I still going to get a duplicate penalty? And I think this video, which is at 3 minutes and 4, if you want to go find it, literally if you search on YouTube for Google Q&A, #4 duplicate content, the question Bill asks is really interesting, because the guy at Google absolutely confirms that there is no duplicate content penalty. So let's just listen to what the guy from Google's got to say.
So there is supposedly, we've been told there's no such thing as a duplicate content penalty at Google, but sometimes duplicate content is penalized. When does that happen? And is it something like syndicated content an area of at risk for that type of penalization?
I let Andre answer this question. We need to have like some secret hand sign, I think.
Yes, like that. Well, like I do this, that means you have to answer. No, you heard right. There is no duplicate content penalty. The rest of the question, because I focus on the first part, the penalty, no, there is no penalty. So that's easier. The rest of it, because the rest of it hinges on the assumption that there is. And since there isn't, I'm not sure how to answer the rest of it.
So as you can see from the video, Andre from Google clearly states there is no penalty for duplicate content. So when you're producing your location pages, you need to consider the quality of the content, yes, but you are not going to get a duplicate content penalty from having lots and lots of content pages. And this was further confirmed by John Mueller. So you could see John Mueller there. He was the guy with the headset on that came up earlier in the video, just before Andre. And what John said in a later video was actually that location pages and location content are seen as different, and therefore they expect a level of duplicate content on the page anyway. So I thought it'd be really interesting to actually hear his point of view. So this, again, you can go on YouTube, search for Google Webmaster Central Duplicate Content Office Hours Hangout. And if you scroll to 3 minutes 22, you can hear him talk about how localized content is actually deemed different within the Google algorithm. So let's take a listen to that video.
Following that, things that aren't duplicate content, translations. So if you have content in German and English, even if it's the same content but translated, that's not duplicate content. It's different words on the page. These are translations, so it's not really a duplicate. Different pages that just have the same title or description meta tag. That's not really something that we really worry about. If you have content on your website and in an app or on mobile-friendly pages, that's not something you'd really need to worry about there. And localized content is also generally not seen as duplicate content, in the sense that maybe it makes sense to have the same content available for multiple countries. We would try to recognize that it's the same text, but we wouldn't say, well, this is an exact duplicate, because actually there's information about the users that you're targeting which is somewhat different. And
so as you can see from what John says, is that even though it may appear that your location pages might share some of the same content, because you're making that location page about the service or offering you have in that location, Google does recognize that it is different. And so as you can see, from back in 2008, where Google said there isn't a duplicate content penalty, you can see it was confirmed in 2014, and you can even see that today Google recognizes localized content in a very, very different way, and even expects there to be a level of duplicate content. So if you get your location pages right, if you construct them using really good quality content, you really are not going to have a problem with getting a Google penalty.